Hello everyone, here I am testing the functionality of this technology here on Facebook and taking advantage of this method to reach you. The choice of the theme for this evening is contraception, hormones and sexuality. And it is a matter that it's not just, the way I see it, is not just directed as women. So I'm really happy to see that I can see some men already online and joining us. And the reason why I chose this, excuse me, the reason I chose this theme was actually prompted by you. Kisses to all of you, and I'll come back to actually see what you are here sharing with me and what are your questions. And this is a time for us to really to see if I can answer from knowledge, not just from of the body physiology, but also from the experience that I've gained through my clinical practice and how I understand these things from my own experience. So yes, contraception, hormones and sexuality. The theme was prompted by you because it's a very common question to be asked in a one-to-one consultations when I see women, but also when I see in general all sorts of clients that are active sexually. So sometimes I have men coming with their own stories around how they manage contraception at home, and also how they manage and how they support their partners with the side effects that we know to be completely natural to find when we take the contraceptive pill. So this evening I'm going to be talking about the contraceptive pill, but also this addresses all therapeutic or conventional medicine tools that include synthetic estrogen. So this is how I'm going to be focused on. There will be general terms that can be applied when we talk about progesterone. So any other drugs that are based on hormonal treatments, hormonal replacements. And some of you have asked me to also mention what happens with HRT, the hormonal replacement therapy that is normally prescribed for women either on menopause or approaching menopause. So this is not meant to be a lecture about the physiology of the body, and it's not meant to be really heavy and boring around the side effects of these drugs, which are based on synthetic estrogen, because it's actually quite easy to find this information online. Okay, if you go on the sites, is now very easy to access the list of side effects, the potential side effects of taking a synthetic form of estrogen. And I can tell you that you can trust that list of side effects. In fact, when I started my practice, even still as a student, and in this new phase of my life that I started over a decade ago, I took many cases where the side effects of the pill were focal. So I had to consider them in order to support my clients. So I'm very experienced to witness the side effects of the pill. And the interesting thing about the side effects of the contraceptive pill is that they can come in the very short term. And we all know cases of women who took the pill, the BCP, and immediately they witnessed differences and changes in their bodies that were not comfortable. Okay, so it's very, very short-term results of taking this synthetic drug. But I can also share with you that very often I see the symptoms or the potential side effects manifesting later on in life. And it may be related to the length, the duration of the time that these clients took the pill, but sometimes it's not what we would expect. Sometimes we take the pill for shorter periods of time and our bodies went off balance and they never went back. And I know this because the method I use to support my clients is that I analyze timeline. It's something I learned from the College of Practical Homeopathy, and our big tool to support and to identify our clients' needs is we analyze the timeline of events, the timeline of changes in our clients' life. And so we go backwards. We analyze when things start changing and what could be the factors that contributed for the body to go out of balance. And there's many methods we use. Very often I try to address everything, but as well, very often I have to go back step by step and bring gradually to the body to what would be health for that body, for that constitution, for that person, gradually backwards in the direction of the timeline. So really, really using the potential of what that person carries in the way they can be healthy. So this, considering this is the method that we use, is very easy to observe when the major blockages come, and we confirm the pill, the synthetic estrogen, can be incredibly damaging. I safeguard that I do not see healthy, incredibly healthy people. Unfortunately, my universe of work is not often with healthy people that come to ask me for advice on how to maintain their health. Although, because I work with primal health, which is the health and the factors that promote health in an individual, I'll be very happy to work more with people that come to me in a preventative approach. But that is not the most frequent case. So I see my clients that are normally out of balance. Now, the range of effects that can come from the blockage caused by taking synthetic estrogen and the pill is manifested in many ways. So it's not just around gynecological problems, but actually, if you've seen the posts that I've put on my professional Facebook page or on the comments I make in other people's pages where I share my understanding of this subject, very often the symptoms that we know that are related to take the pill are not actually on the sexual or gynecological realms. They can be even from the respiratory problems. It can be from sensitivities to changes in weather. It can be an increased sensitivity around our immune system. Our immune response decreases. Our digestive system can be out of balance, and it may be down to the pill. And I can give you details around this as it comes in the conversation. But again, this is not a lecture of all the side effects and all the potential problems that the pill can bring. But if you ask me questions, I can try to analyze and to interpret in a more practical way here with you today. So, but I have a lineup of things that I'd like to share with you. And there are some of you that have asked me to share this information in general. And I thought, okay, yes, the thing is that you come to see me either in clinic or in my women's groups or when I meet you in social ways, and I start sharing with you general knowledge and general conclusions that I've taken from my work. So I was thinking, okay, I can do a PDF, I can do a video, and you can come and really be in connection with what I have to say. But I think, you know what, I'm going just to do a webinar. It's going to be recorded on the Facebook database, and if you have doubts, you can just go and watch that. I really try to do this short so you get as much information and my interpretation on this as in a very practical way, and you can just listen to me whilst you're doing other things, but really don't hesitate in putting your questions forward. I'm going just to close a window here on my browser so it makes me more attentive to what you can say on my screen. So here we are. Yes, thank you, Aitor. Its webinar is great. It's a great tool. I've seen your post on Facebook and Instagram, and you're doing a great job. I wish to visit you very soon. And Sending you lots of love and hugs to those that have joined me. And please share this information if you find that is relevant. And, you know, the idea is really, really to make this information approached because, okay, why is this information, the one I'm going to share with you from my experience, not so easily accessible? Very often people say, wow, but why didn't my doctor say these things to me? And where can I read more? I'm very happy to send you resources as well if you ask me. But the main reason why these things are not accessible on the web, because we are still humans and we still have a limitation of time. And I struggle to put all the information I've gathered all these years out there. If I see clients, I cannot be working online. If I'm preparing a workshop for groups, I cannot be working and writing up these amazing information that I've gathered. So yes, it is a shame, but it is not totally original. What I'm doing here is collecting the information that I've gathered from my own practice, but also from general medical systems that we have been learning and studying for thousands of years. Okay, so it is just a question that I'm here at the right time and sharing this with you. So the uses of the birth control pill, and I want you to share this as well with your family, is that we have those that go to doctor and they ask the doctor for a contraception. In fact, even if they don't ask, it's very often what we women are asked by our GPs, by our general practitioners. They ask, okay, so what are you doing about contraception? And if we say things like, oh, we know we use natural methods and the condom, it's very likely that we're going to have a little bit like a doubt from our doctor. Really, you do that? Are you sure? Well, I can tell you that in statistic terms, if it's well used, the condom and the pill, they present exactly the same efficiency in preventing pregnancy. But that is another matter. So yes, we are very often offered this option as if it was just the most natural thing to do in terms of contraception. It became completely mainstream, and if a woman is in a permanent or let's say regular relationship, where she has sex, she is offered the pill as a way to prevent pregnancy. But also there's many other reasons why a woman and a girl may be prescribed the pill or any other synthetic estrogen drug. And this may be down to acne and to problems of the skin. And many of you will remember this. I mean, it's not offered to boys, but actually many conditions that have been identified as linked to changes in hormones, very often we as girls, we are offered the pill as a solution, which you may have noticed that, yes, it changes the symptoms. So the skin may become better. But again, if more and more women are talking, and it's not necessarily the case that we become healthier. If we become healthier or if we become relief from certain symptoms, it's very likely that we've developed other symptoms as well. And I have had cases of even kidney imbalance at an extreme level. I had sports women having to stop to do sports because the joints just went. And they never associated with the pill. But when we analyze the timeline, we know it all started when they start taking the pill. And then physiologically and chemically, if we analyze what's happening in the body, it's perfectly understandable. And the good thing, and what I can share with you, is that, yes, when I start supporting the body in a way that that person stops taking the pill, health comes back. So the link is confirmed not by lab studies, but actually by people studies, by seeing how it happens. Okay, so we have this case, and then you're very welcome again to ask me questions about, think about when you start taking the pills, think about when your partners start taking the pill and what changed. Because I'm really curious about to listen, to hear, and to read what were the things that changed. It may have been actually just as a psychological level, which is not just a thing. You know, very often we don't link both, because who would think that taking a pill, a small pill that was offered as is the most, you know, magic thing that we can have, so we don't worry about getting pregnant, and yet our moods change, our emotional well-being change, and we don't associate. But I can tell you that it's highly linked with depression, with depressive thoughts, with and just a very basic thing, you know, it can dry women's membranes. It can dry their sexual fluid. So the libido can decrease. And it's stated there in the side effects of this magic pill. And that in itself, particularly when we are in a relationship where we want to be intimate, can affect our emotional well-being. So it's really important to think of how these things are all related and how the side effects may not be just as we were expecting, like vomiting, headaches, nausea all the time, all these things that are very typically associated with the pill. Actually, they might be a bit different in the different organs, in different reactions, but they are still down to the fact that we are using a synthetic estrogen drug. Okay, just to give you another let's say, general picture. When I speak about the pill, I'm talking about the IUD, the coil that is impregnated, the Mirena, depending on where we're talking about. I'm talking about the ring that is placed in the uterus. I'm talking about implants in the skin nowadays that stop women having periods for years. I'm talking about injections that are normally given to women with very, very serious hormonal problems, and every month or every 3 months, it depends on the protocol, they go and have an injection which prevents them from having normal periods. And obviously I'm talking about the HRT, which is a different matter, but it will have similar effects. Okay, so I want just you to also to remember that anything that is synthetic in our body, as I've mentioned before, has to be dealt with extra energy and extra nutrients. So when we are having, even if we are having a healthy lifestyle, if we are taking a synthetic drug, our body has to put extra efforts that cannot go to the normal physiological situations. Physiological metabolisms that make us healthy. So if other extra factors come into the equation, we are less prepared to resist, and that's why we have side effects. Side effects, symptoms, are a signal that the body struggles somehow to go back to balance. Nothing else than that. So it's important to understand that whatever we take, our organs have to give energy to. And one of the main organs that gives energy and has to process all these things is the liver. And that's why you're going to find many side effects associated with the liver, because the liver can't do. And that's why the liver is so clever that, okay, I cannot deal with this now, I'm going to put it on the side, and then we'll deal with it later on. And that's why sometimes the side effects are only visible years later. When, for example, a woman wants to get pregnant, or when a woman comes to menopause. So yeah, it's quite difficult at the scientific level to prove that it was linked to the pill. Besides these things, we don't take samples of the liver and say, oh, what have you been struggling with these years? Okay, so it's very important to realize that if we just remember that synthetic drugs have to be handled by our organs that actually were not evolved to handle them, we have to at least keep that in our minds. And that goes with everything. It goes with an anti-inflammatory drug. It goes with an antidepressant. It goes with anything that we have to put in our bodies that have to be identified as something that also, when after they finish their course, they need to be excreted. So you're going to find that in some people, the effect is going to be harder on the kidneys. Others is going to be in the bowels. So we now know that great part of the metabolizing last stages happen in the digestive system by bacteria. So if we don't have a good gut flora, we are more likely to struggle with, let's say, degrading these hormones, not only the synthetic hormones, but also our own hormones. And that's why many women, in fact, can have symptoms around their periods that were not caused by the pill, but they were aggravated by the pill because they had already problems in digesting their own hormones, in metabolizing those hormones, and go back to balance. So it's pretty complex. And then again, I'm passionate about this, and here I am. I've been speaking for nearly 20 minutes, and I haven't given you what I think in terms of our contraception, our hormones, and our sexuality. So the first thing I'd like you to retain is that menstrual cycles are meant to be gentle and quiet. Okay, this is a myth. When you go to your doctor and no, let's say when you come to me and I ask, so how are your periods? And someone says, they are normal, they're normal, they're okay. Okay, what is normal to you? And then very often I have this list of symptoms. Well, it's normal. They are painful in the first day. I actually can't do anything with my life that day. But everybody does. And but what can I do? And I'm like, well, actually that is normal to you, but that is not natural. And I've seen it myself, because that's one of the reasons why I confirmed my love for natural therapies, because I used to struggle with very painful periods from an early time. And guess what? From where did they aggravate it? From when I took the pill for the first time. It was horrible, horrible. And I just considered it natural. But luckily, I found practitioners that knew having painful periods, it's not a normal thing, and it's not something for us to put aside. A woman is in her most highest manifestation at all stages of her period, not just when she's not bleeding or not just when she's not ovulating. So all stages of the cycle should be healthy, and healthy means that they are gentle and they are tranquil, let's say quiet. Okay, so I'm not saying that you will not have symptoms. Okay, maybe that your mood changes a little bit, you want to be more introspective, or actually you're more sexual active and you are more aroused, or you have more need to eat certain foods, and you cannot actually go to that training but of intense boxing, but you can do some more yoga, or vice versa. You feel your energy is changing. Again, it has to feel natural, not the same, but natural. So we have to finish with this myth that having, getting the periods is just, normal. And honestly, it's time to change this thing about PMT, and she's PMT when a woman is angry or when a woman is more sensitive, because that is really not fair. Okay, she may be more sensitive during those days because her periods are not balanced, and she needs to get back to health. I mean, it's crap to have a tough day at work when we are bleeding and in fact we feel that we should just be quiet and not moving much because we haven't eaten properly, and we have, or our uterus is contracting and it becomes painful. Okay. That's okay. It's good to admit, yes, she is on her period, but you know what? She's depleted in magnesium. It's not a quality of her personality to be really nagging and uncomfortable and inefficient at work. Okay, it's something that adds to her imbalance, and she's not having what she needs in that moment to have a wonderful bleeding in health. Okay, so if your periods are not healthy, and if you feel that you really have to stop your life and you become a pain in the neck to others and things like that, then okay, it's a really good signal that your body is sending to you that you should take care and something needs to go back to balance. And I'll be talking about tools that you can put in practice for you to go back to balance and actually enjoy your periods like I do, strange enough. Of course, we have the socialization of menstruation, which is, how often do we think of menstruation as a good thing? Never. But, it's dirty, it's smelly, it's whatever. Painful, limits. Okay, I can tell you, we all experience when we go through a rebalance of our bodies is that actually a menstruation is an amazing stage of our lives. It's long. Since puberty until menopause, and it really is case for celebration. Okay, there's so many things I could talk about this, a whole seminar about sexuality and menstruation, women's development, all this power that we bring from nature, like animals and like flowers and everything that reproduces, but also that creates. The creative stage, our body every month is reminding us that we can create, that we move, that we change, and that we are present with what needs to be happening in that moment. Yes. Amazing, lucky women we are, because men, it's not so obvious for you. Okay, men really are not as cyclical, although you are. You have to be in connection with the natural factors in a different way, which is great, and we can also go over that. Okay, so, but periods are definitely affected by stress, by toxicity. Basically, anything that affects your health is going to affect your periods. Okay, and it's important because to understand this, but also important to remember that it is solvable. Okay, health is a dynamic stage, like in ecology, in ecosystems. Very rare ecosystems are totally stable. In fact, the most productive ecosystems are very likely to be the ones that are dynamic, that are showing changes. But what do? They adapt. Okay, they adapt, they carry on, they recover, they are resilient, all different variables on an ecosystem that makes them very different, and it will be the same with women and men that we know. Okay, but there are things we can do to to increase that adaptability. Okay, the other thing I've already mentioned is that, and I have in my list, just to remind you, is that hormonal treatments affect body natural balance. Okay, so again, I include the HRT for menopause. And I had a question from one of my women's group that was very good, and this woman felt that she didn't want to go on the HRT, and she's wondering, did I did this well? Was this a good decision? Are there other ways that I can prevent osteoporosis? And there's other diseases that are sold to us as being preventable by the HRT. Okay, yes. Let's think about one thing. Your body is going through changes where it does not need to be putting so much energy in liberating eggs, but you still need those hormones, because another myth that we have around hormones is that they are sexual. We even call them sexual hormones, but in fact, those hormones are more than sexual. They are life hormones. Okay, they allow you to be alive. They participate into your immune response. You don't want to be suppressing any of the hormones that your body is producing naturally and imbalanced and in cycles. Okay, so what we want to do is to support your body to produce these hormones when they are necessary and not exaggerating. And we want to keep your glands all very healthy. So the messages that hormones transmit, which is their role, is to pass messages around the body, is that these glands are active, are flowy, are healthy in a way they can receive the messages and act as they should be acting. Okay, so yes, there are ways of and we'll talk about that if I have time. So what we have to also remember is that, again, your menstrual discomfort, so the discomfort around menses, may be not associated to a gynecological cause. What is causing your menstrual balance and imbalance and pain and stress may not be directly linked to your ovaries, to your uterus, to all of that gynecological area. And we know, because we go to the doctors, we do the tests, and nothing is wrong, yet we don't seem to be healthy in our menstruation. Okay, as I mentioned before, we have a higher contribution to the health of our gynecological system and our menstrual cycles from the liver, from the bowels, from the adrenal glands. If you are stressed, your adrenal glands, these wonderful small little glands that contribute to your adaptability in moments of stress, they also interact with your ovaries. They are there doing the job to compensate this. And if they are not restful, they will be making you less adaptable to stress. So if you join stress and nutritional imbalance and a sensitivity already that was established earlier on in your life for different reasons, it may have been a drug that you took, or even if you're on the pill and is really just accumulating the synthetic estrogen, you are going to have symptoms on your menstruation because it's cyclical. So symptoms come as signals and they come as cycles. Let me see. Sleep and hormonal changes. Yes. So any ideas on sleep and hormonal changes? Absolutely. I mean, you know, my brain goes like, yeah, I can just imagine the body. Okay, so sleep. I don't know if you're talking about loss of sleep or needing more sleep. But yes, what is sleep? Sleep is a part of our life where we need to recover. Okay, and it's not just because we're tired and we are going to lay down and rest and our muscles don't have to move and therefore we wake up and we can start working again. No, 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 no. Sleep is also a time where many functions stop because they are not needed, like digestion, and other functions kick in. And the big functions that kick in during the time where we are asleep, it's dark and we don't need to be stimulated by many factors, is our parasympathetic system. What is the parasympathetic system? Is the nervous side of our reactions that is involuntary, and it's linked with regeneration, and it covers all organs. You know, the Chinese traditional doctors, they have always used the night to tap into, to know what is the organs that need more support. Because if you wake at different times of your night, it is likely to be telling you which organs need more support. And so if they need more energy, they are activating, and then you cannot sleep. So, and I tell you, I use that as a guide for my practice, and it works. Okay, so it's really confirmed. And if you speak with a Chinese medical doctor, they will be even better on saying that. So hormonal changes. Well, again, if we have, just unplugging this, if we have when we have hormones that are not balanced in our body, they are flowing. You know, that's the particularity of hormones. We need very small amounts of hormones, but they go around the system, and when they are reaching the glands that they are supposed to be communicating with, they activate the function. This is how it works, and it goes from the pituitary gland, from the brain, it passes through all the other glands into tissue. Sometimes the hormones activate tissue. Histamine is a very good example of that. So when these changes, hormonal changes throughout the cycle, are not in balance, and the estrogen comes in, but the progesterone is still there, and the glands are not working very well, those concentrations change. They reach parts of our body that are not expecting them to reach, and they activate the process. It may be well that it's your brain. And in your brain, again, the sleep becomes disturbed. So we have already different factors here. It may be that the organ that is kicking in and, you know, regenerating during that time of your night is not getting what it needs, therefore wakes you up. Or it might be that if it's associated with imbalance in your hormonal levels, that is aggravated by the fact that you are having hormones in your system that actually should have been excreted and released some time ago. So I am going through the natural ways. Exactly. So basically, what I would like to then give you is, okay, so what do we do with this information? Okay, my approach, and I can see some of my colleagues here. It's really nice because Felicity, we trained together. So again, I told you, I mentioned the timeline. One of the wonderful things that your practitioner should be doing, it's normally better if you do it with someone, is to see where the imbalance is coming from. Okay, so if the imbalance is coming from a gynecological issue, then your gynecologist is going to be able to see if you are balanced and if there is any morphological problem or not, and there's ways to support that as well, holistically, having things in consideration. But let's see that, no, actually it's my digestion. I am not absorbing the foods that will support my normal production of hormones. That's as basic as that. Okay, so we need to look into the hormone producing and supporting foods. It's not just that, oh, I'm going to have a healthy diet. The ones of you know I'm not conventional about healthy diet, because I use diet as a therapeutic tool. I don't use diet because someone told me this is healthy. I went to research what is the best diet for each particular condition. And we have to remember that physiologically our bodies may be different from they are different from our neighbor. So our neighbor may be in the most amazing diet that is full of antioxidants, and it doesn't help us because we don't need antioxidants. Antioxidants have a role in our bodies, but actually what I need is reducing foods, because I need to identify inflammation. So all this information that we are getting from healthy meat maybe not adequate for you. And so a really important way to understand is that what may be affecting my cycles has nothing to do with my problems at the gynecological level. It may be that I am not being able to absorb the right nutrients to produce hormones. A fantastic nutrient to produce hormones is cholesterol. Cholesterol is the base of all our sexual hormones. So if you have a diet that does not contain cholesterol, I can tell you your body is going to have to produce it, okay? And sometimes we are not able to produce as much cholesterol as we need. And also sometimes we produce cholesterol, but then we don't use it. So we become high cholesterol and things go pear-shaped. So yes, there are really good ways to think, okay, what can I do to get my hormones back into balance from the things I take from the environment? Okay, and there's many therapeutic tools out there that can support you. And this is answering the question about how can I have the benefits that I've been told that the pill gives me and that the HRT gives me without the side effects? Well, look into really what your body needs. It may be that you need to see a herbal therapist that knows the nutrients, the micronutrients that plants can give us for us to really start absorbing these things in a way without side effects and in a way our body understands as food. We have, I mentioned diet, we have acupuncture. It may be that the problem in your body is there's no flow, you know, and acupuncture is a really good technique and tool to increase the flow of your fluids, circulation, to keep your body, in the Chinese terms, warm, not cold, not letting inflammation coming in. There is massage, there is even movement. Okay, movement therapy. That's why yoga, people benefit from yoga, but also more other movements. We are not designed to be still. We are not designed to be in front of a computer. Even today, I had a little comment on Facebook with a very an amazing coach out there, Anastasia Dedukina, who specializes in the effects of the digital lifestyle we have on our happiness. She wrote a book and it's called Homo Distractus, and we were commenting that maybe there we have some side effects just for sitting in front of a computer with all the radiation. And it feels like, oh, come on, don't give me that hippie conversation. Well, you know, some schools are now having Wi-Fi in their schools. We do not know the effect of this all new radiation around us is having. So we are not designed to be still. We should move. Women should move. Women should swim. All these things that we have at our access, and others like sauna, like really tailor to what you need, the practice you have in your life. I have a conversation with my acupuncturist this week, which was exactly about that. You know, we think very much of therapies as tools to fix problems, but in fact, we must start changing this in the West. It's about keeping health. It's about providing to you what you need at different stages of your life, at different times of the month, for you to keep healthy and keep providing, keep going forward, keep being yourself, keep being healthy and adaptable. Now, there is another thing that I really put here as is part of my practice, is part of my motto, and I really like to share this view with you, is this touch. Okay, it's very nice to see on our social media posts saying women need hugs and the power of touch in our well-being. It is that and much more. Okay, again, human beings, we are mammals. We have sensory skin, and the sensations that we receive on our skin tell us that we are safe, show us that we can be touched, we can be healthy, we can be connected, and that has a physiological effect, not just emotional, not just of caring and feel that we belong, but actually a physiological effect. So again, and this is a webinar tailored more for the gynecological issues, periods, hormones, we need to keep them active. We need to keep the body active and touched. So again, the power of activities like massage, like intimacy, just do it. If you have pets, if you have children, if you have lovers, if you have your masseur, if you have any kind of thing that promotes being touched, is also going to send a lot of information. It's going to have a physiological effect, and hormones respond so well, because actually the biggest, the king, the queen, the goddess hormone of all, of pleasure, of love, of connection, is oxytocin. And she has a big A in Portuguese, so she's a she. She's there needing to be produced and to engage in all your healing processes. Oxytocin is behind all of our healing and regenerative processes. So, okay, and now we go into sexuality. So let me see if you have written any. Thank you, Pelagia, for your comment. Take the pill to help with difficult, very heavy and painful. Yes, exactly. That's something that I mentioned in the beginning, Claudia. Thank you for sharing. So what if I have already such heavy periods, and then you are telling me that, and I was prescribed a pill and they improved? And now I know they are so not good. I've been reading, they are not good for me. But now I'm afraid of stopping taking the pill because I don't want to go back to those heavy periods. Yes, so we need to ask is, why did you have heavy periods to start with? And go back to that, because your body still needs to balance that. And the thing is that we give a pill, or we put a ring, or we put the coil, put anything that suppresses your normal hormones to come out and be out of balance, because we just flushed your body with the synthetic form of estrogen. So, you know, that's it. You're now dictated by something either that you've implanted or that you take. And what is happening with your glands? They are flooded with this chemical, and how will they be able to go back to normal? So yes, so take it almost at this stage, because it's painful, or you have a memory that used to be very painful. You have to wean down of the pill, and you need to support your body with diet, and you need to get into the nutrition that the pill is very likely has been taken away, because in order that, like I mentioned, in order to metabolize the pill, we spend even further nutrients that are so useful to other processes. So it's very likely that you're depleted. Depletes magnesium. I mean, we deplete very often. It completely interacts with our metabolism of iron. So women take the pill, they become anemic, and nothing else changes. But why? Because the pill may interfere with the metabolism of iron. So we need to look into how can you recover with metabolizing the iron. That's why, for example, there's high bleeding when we stop taking the pill. The periods go crazy. So we need to support again the production of blood, and the production, and assimilation of iron, oxygenation of your body. So there's other things. I mean, in homeopathy, it's a very unknown method, an unknown system of medicine, but the results for detoxing of the pill are incredible, and so, against facts, there's no arguments, as we say in Portuguese. So there are ways of really detoxing from synthetic drugs. There is a method in homeopathy called tautopathy, which it's something for you to research to see if your homeopath can use it. But there's ways of really nourishing what is down there and what were the causes. Many years ago, I learned in clinic, and just to give you an example of the profound effects that things have, the chemicals around us on us. When I trained, we had to analyze many cases from clients that came to see our lectures, our teachers, and in our student clinic. So I was blessed by having all these cases that I could see and analyze and learn from. And one pattern that we saw for many years was that the periods became painful after girls, so young women, were given the BCG vaccine. Okay, the BCG by then was still only given at puberty, and also only rare cases the women had already their period. So, you know, it's not easy to find cases like that, but there was a pattern. You know, the periods were fine, the BCG was given, the anti-tuberculosis, you know, the tuberculosis vaccine, and then the periods went really bad. And, you know, I can have my own speculations about this, because we have data that shows that vaccines can change the gut flora changes, the approach to the synthetic, to the natural estrogen changes, and therefore the periods go out of balance. So yes, it's possible. But now all of our children, if they go through the normal program of vaccination, they get inoculated at birth in Portugal, or at 2 months in England, or at 4 months in other countries in Europe. So we have lost this ability to associate. So it's actually not, it's a detective work, you know, we do detective work here, okay? But when you stop taking the pill, you nourish your body with a good diet for your periods. And again, give a lot of attention to what your body needs at different stages of your month. Because if you're bleeding, it's very likely that your body will not have the same energy to, for example, to run, or to run your business, or to take care of your children. So what you do during this time of recovery is that you prepare yourself. You just don't wait for your period to arrive, okay? You know you're going to start bleeding. You change, you make changes. You ask someone to, for example, to pick up the children from school that day. Or you ask your partner, oh, could you cook today for me without my participation? I would need that. Or you just go and have the most amazing chicken broth. You know, you are Portuguese, I can say canja de galinha, which is incredibly nourishing for your hormones. You know, it's really also kicks in with the gelatin and all the collagen and the cholesterol that goes into those soups. They're really nourished. So it's really about getting the right tools at the right time. And it's not something that, oh, you wake up one day and you have your period. You more or less know, even if they are irregular, you more or less know that you are about to have a period. Make the changes. If the pain comes during ovulation, then you prepare your ovulation. Perhaps it's the day that you will really want to have the best, soft, nourishing sex with your partner that evening. You know, see sex as your nourishing, as your therapy, which leads me to the last part of what I really want to leave this with you, which is, okay, so, but what do we do with one of the basic reasons why women take the pill, which is to prevent pregnancy, okay? And this is, I talk about this because eventually we always talk about these things, okay? And there are so many ways of preventing pregnancy, and there's so many good practitioners out there working with something called natural fertility. I know people in different countries doing that, so if you ask me, I can perhaps do you to send some referrals on my list. But you know, natural fertility, it works. I mean, we are even living in an era that there's these crazy, amazing mathematicians, scientists putting their brains to use of apps which now have enough data to be incredibly efficient at predicting your ovulation and help you. And there's a new app, I'm not going to do publicity, I don't even remember the name, but there's an app developed by a Russian scientist, and she basically, it's as precise as any other, the best contraceptive methods. Okay, so there's actually no reason to be taking such a damaging chemical inside for you to prevent pregnancy. Besides, it's a pain and it gives you side effects. So there's one thing, apps, natural fertility, knowing your body, knowing when your period is coming. But, you know, there's also other thing that we have to start introducing into our approach to health, which is sexuality is not limited to intercourse, and it's male sexuality, it's not limited to to ejaculation. Okay, and in the West, we don't have this information. Okay, it's thousands of years where all of this related to health and sexuality has been suppressed, erased, it's not important, it's mystified even, or really criminalized even. Okay, so we are not going to get this information from our own culture. You have to be open to learn from other cultures. And I can tell you that for me, it started many years ago, because I was researching of all kinds of methods to be healthy and to support my clients. And actually, I am one of those scientists that like to use things for myself and to try before I can speak about it, and research and ask. And there's such good practitioners out there as well, teaching the Tao, which is an approach to a lifestyle. It's a belief system that includes sexuality as a means to be healthy and as a means of longevity. But it's not sexuality as we see it. Okay, so sexual pleasure arises from a different approach to your relationship that perhaps at the moment we are focusing mainly, which is intercourse, ejaculation. Okay, and for those of you that this is a strange concept, that we can be as pleasure, has as much pleasure from those different practices as when we have the most traditional connecting intercourse, you have to really try. It's not, you have to research, you have to evolve, you have to go out there and study, to learn, to read, to experiment with your partner. But basically, it's going to require you to be attuned. It's going to require to look at your sex life as something that is paramount to your health. It's not going to be like, oh, but yeah, I really want, and, having this desire in your body and then get satisfied. It's going to ask from you to be a sexual being at all stages, which means that you are aware of your sexual needs, and your needs are varied and they are expanded, because you learn that being sexual does not mean just when you are aroused and when you want to have sex, but actually being sexual means to be healthy, to be awakened, to be open to nature, to be open to others, to be open to your partner, to be open to beauty, to be open to the sensations that you have in your body, to be present with who you are today. And then you communicate that, and sexual with others, with your partner, is then a much richer experience. And it's not comparable in terms of quantity. It has to be experienced, and it's a different approach to life. And therefore, yes, combining different tools, combining natural fertility knowledge, combining the awakening that you have towards each other's arousals and desires and pleasure, then you can get pregnant, but only when you want. Okay, it's much less likely that you need an artificial method to prevent pregnancy. And yet, and I'm talking about chemical contraceptive methods, because again, we are lucky. Condoms are getting cheaper, it's like, it's accessible. And when you have these rhythms and when you have these things to share with your partner, if you really want, and of course is lovely if you want to have intercourse with ejaculation, then you have means to avoid it. And there's different times of your cycle where you can be more relaxed than others, but it demands from you a different approach to your body. Your body deserves your dedication. This is the message I wanted to share with you. And I share with you when I see you in a one-to-one. And it's actually very much in combination with the things that I have in my other practices, the work I do with women and with groups in terms of communication and achieving your vision and achieving your desires. It's based on the fact that, okay, look at yourself. You deserve the time, the attention, the changes, the learning, the evolution that you dedicate to yourself, because this is what you're here for. Okay, and so it's okay for us. Sometimes we need just a quick fix for things, but let's not expect that life is going to give us the same detachment from life, from the things we do, as when we get the contraceptive effects of a pill full of potential side effects. Okay, we need to just change, and it's gradual, and we are here to learn, and we live in a time where this information is accessible, and there are people like me dedicating their life to share their knowledge. But you can carry on with your life, but just be more present, and knowing that, you know, you don't have to suffer. That's the other thing. You know, we do have an amazing body with an amazing ability to recover, but above all, we are not designed for suffering. Are designed for pleasure. It's completely associated. So I'm going to finish, because this is normally taking, but I'd like to answer perhaps one last. Oh, yes, Carolina, thank you for your question. Well, yes, we've observed. I mean, it's another thing. In fact, it's a subject that I've read, I've informed, and I'm just like, okay, it's the toxicity around us is incredible. Okay, so the question is, any idea on why young girls are developing so soon these days? What can moms do? Any natural remedies to delay puberty? So, yes, the ideas, and it comes actually from my background in biology. We already were very aware when I was studying the marine ecosystems, and I had to take into consideration the quality of the water, etc. We know now enough for decades of the effect of synthetic substances in the sea and how they affect the development of animals, of fish, particularly in gender formation, in sexual manifestation. So we know that there is an effect of plastics, for example, in the way we developed, and there are great concerns, not just for me, but from my colleagues that are at the forefront of this kind of information. We are very concerned with the amount of synthetic estrogen or estrogen mimicking substances in our environment. And that means plastic, that means kind of drugs that are interpreted as estrogen in our body. We have too much estrogen. I live in London. The quality of the water here is very dubious in the tap water, for example. And one of the things that we are scared is of the high levels of estrogen that exist in the water that people drink. So we are basically getting hormonal replacement substances in our daily basis. So getting one way of really keeping ourselves natural or less affected by these hormones is going really pure, you know, and then that's another whole story. How can we have pure water? How can we have pure foods? How can we stop using plastic and buying things that come in plastic? But there are ways as well of decreasing already or helping to eliminate estrogen from the system, natural ways. So foods containing antioxidants, again, cholesterol is a very good molecule because it binds to toxins. So our body can liberate toxins attached to cholesterol molecules, and that's why when we are ill we produce more cholesterol, because it's a way that we have of not only excreting but also to go into places where inflammation is happening, so we can start the healing process. So I would look into liver purifying herbs. Again, this is things that I cannot prescribe, or I prefer not to go into I don't want to be persecuted by these people that will be looking into naturopaths and limiting our work. But yes, there are herbs out there that can really help and flush. Just keep flushing. Don't go on to diets that just detoxifying. I'm also not saying that, because detoxification can be dangerous and also inefficient, because we are more likely to detoxify when we are eating things that regenerate rather than just things that cleanse us. Okay, so I'm a little bit also very critical of this idea that we should cleanse. We're not dirty. We may just need to flush the substances that don't serve us anymore. And that includes synthetic, but also sometimes our own hormones. If kids these days are going through incredible stress, and that's enough for them to produce higher levels of estrogen, higher levels of adrenaline, higher levels of cholesterol, cortisol. So we have these three hormones that actually normally they are not very good friends of healing and regeneration, and they accelerate things, and therefore we have girls and boys, but boys in a different way, not necessarily healthy and visible, but girls becoming really prematurely mature, prematurely in puberty. So it's really a way of providing them with an environment where their bodies all slow down, allow them to slow down, allow their bodies to not get into this fight or flight response, because those are all associated with increment of estrogen in the system, which is very likely to be the kick in of puberty stages. So I hope I have answered all of the questions that you've sent me previously and here, and hope this was useful. The idea with this webinar was really for you to know what is my view general, so not specific to any of a particular client, but my general knowledge and experience that I've gained, a little snippet of what is happening with our menstruations, with our hormones, and with our sexuality from a perspective of a world where we are given the pill as the solution for all things. And I'm really adamant and active against the prescription of the birth control pill. If you want to know my opinion to people that we are not certain that is not going to have a serious damaging effect in the short and in the long term. So apart from this, you know that I am very happy to talk about many other issues that come from respecting your body, respecting your emotions, and allowing you to find ways to really be happier, more connected to others, and healthier. So all the best, and leave me some comments and tell me how does my work resonate with you. I really appreciate your feedbacks. Lots of love. Stay well. Bye.